High Admiral Kraz stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Dominion flagship Star Crusher, his forearms clasped behind his back as he gazed at the blue marble hanging in space. His secondary eyelids blinked rapidly in amusement as the latest intelligence report scrolled across his neural interface. "Commander Vex, come look at this. You won't believe what these primitives are still using as weapons." Commander Vex slithered across the polished deck, her serpentine body moving with practiced grace. "What is it this time, Admiral? Don't tell me they're still splitting atoms for power." "Oh, it's far more amusing than that," Kraz chuckled, his throat sacs pulsating with mirth. "They're still using projectile weapons. Actual physical bullets. Can you believe it? Pieces of metal propelled by chemical explosions." Vex's scales shifted color from deep green to bright yellow, the equivalent of raising an eyebrow in disbelief. "Surely you're joking, Admiral. No spacefaring race would still rely on such archaic methods." "See for yourself," Kraz gestured to the holographic display, showing detailed scans of Earth's military installations. Their most advanced weapons are still based on gunpowder and metal. The same basic principle they've been using for, what does the data say, over 1,000 years. The bridge crew couldn't contain their laughter, the sound echoing off the crystalline walls of the command center. Even the ship's AI, typically stoic and professional, added a few amused beeps to the chorus. Admiral announced Lieutenant Kix from his station at Tactical, his antennae twitching with excitement. "The invasion fleet reports all ships are in position. Our energy weapons are charged and shields are at maximum capacity. These humans won't know what hit them." Kraz nodded, his facial tentacles curling with satisfaction. "Excellent. Deploy the phase plasma cannons and ready the quantum disruption fields. Let's show these primitives what real weapons look like." The massive invasion fleet hung in high orbit, 50,000 ships strong, their sleek hulls gleaming with an otherworldly iridescence. Each vessel bristled with technology so advanced it would make Earth's finest scientists weep with envy. Energy weapons capable of reducing cities to ash with a single shot, shields that could withstand the fury of a small star, and targeting systems that could track a butterfly's wing beats from orbit. "Send the standard ultimatum," Kraz ordered, settling into his command throne. "Though I doubt they'll even understand half the terms. Primitive species rarely do." As the message was transmitted, Kraz allowed himself a moment of pity for the humans. It wasn't their fault they had taken the wrong path in weapons development. Some species just never figured out how to properly harness energy weapons. They clung to their primitive ways until a more advanced civilization came along to correct their misconceptions. Little did High Admiral Kraz know, but that smug smile was about to be wiped off his face in the most spectacular way possible. Because sometimes, just sometimes, the old ways are the best ways, and the humans were about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. The ultimatum from the Galactic Dominion flashed across every screen on Earth, broadcasting in perfect English, Chinese, Russian, and 47 other languages. High Admiral Kraz had expected panic, terror, maybe even immediate surrender. What he got instead was something entirely unexpected. Laughter. Admiral Lisa Chen, Supreme Commander of Earth's United Defense Force, actually wiped tears from her eyes as she finished reading the message. The gathered world leaders in the emergency session couldn't contain their amusement either. "They think our weapons are primitive," she said, standing at the podium in the United Nations emergency bunker. "Let me get this straight. They crossed half the galaxy to invade us because they think we're using outdated technology." More laughter erupted from the assembly. Even the typically stoic Norwegian Prime Minister was struggling to maintain composure. Up in orbit, High Admiral Kraz's facial tentacles twisted in confusion as he watched the broadcast. "Why are they laughing?" "Commander Vex, analyze their response. Are their translation matrices malfunctioning?" "No," Sir Vex replied, her scales shifting to a puzzled purple. "They appear to be genuinely amused. But we're detecting massive military mobilization. They're moving their forces, but not in a defensive pattern." Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the alien communication channels. "High Admiral Kraz, this is Admiral Lisa Chen of Earth. We've received your ultimatum. Before you make a horrible mistake, let me ask you something. Did you ever wonder why humanity never developed energy weapons?" Kraz's secondary eyelids blinked rapidly. "Because you're primitive, of course." Another burst of laughter. No, sweetheart, it's because we tried them. About 200 years ago, found out they were absolutely useless for what we needed. But please, by all means, continue with your invasion. Task Force Thunder has been looking for some live fire practice. Lieutenant Kiks's antennae suddenly stood straight up. Admiral, multiple launches detected from Earth's surface. Thousands of. Are those rockets? Calm yourself, Lieutenant Kraz said dismissively. Our shields can handle any primitive projectile they throw at us. Power up the phase plasma cannons and target their major military installations. Sir Vex interrupted, her scales now a worried white. You need to see this. Those aren't normal rockets. They're splitting apart. Indeed, what appeared to be simple rockets were now breaking into clusters, each cluster containing hundreds of smaller projectiles. Task Force Thunder, humanity's deadliest space warfare unit, had just launched Operation Buckshot, a symphony of kinetic weaponry that was about to teach the aliens some basic physics. Admiral Chen to all Earth forces. Lisa's voice was calm, almost cheerful. Remember your training. Just like we practiced. They've got energy shields? Good. That means they've got to maintain their shield geometry. And what happens when you hit an energy shield with enough kinetic force? The response came from thousands of human soldiers. The shield geometry fails. Kraz watched in growing horror as the first wave of human weapons approached. They weren't using energy beams or plasma. They were using good old-fashioned tungsten rods, accelerated to ridiculous speeds. Thousands upon thousands of them, all precisely calculated to hit their targets at the exact same moment. Impossible, he whispered. Lieutenant, calculate the kinetic energy of those projectiles. I can't, sir. The numbers are off the scale. They're using the planet's gravity well as a force multiplier. Admiral Chen's voice came through one final time, dripping with satisfaction. You know what the funny thing about kinetic weapons is, Admiral Kraz? Shields just give them something solid to hit. Task Force Thunder, light them up. The space around Earth lit up like a new sun being born, as humanity demonstrated exactly why they had stuck with their primitive weapons. Sometimes the old ways really were the best ways. The first wave of kinetic rounds slammed into the Galactic Dominion shields with the force of small nuclear explosions. High Admiral Kraz watched in stunned silence as status reports flooded his neural interface. 30 ships lost in the opening salvo. Not damaged, not disabled, lost. Status report, he bellowed, all 4 arms gripping his command throne. Lieutenant Kiks's antennae were practically tied in knots. Shield geometries are collapsing across the fleet. The humans, they're not just firing randomly. Each impact is precisely calculated to create resonance cascades in our shield matrices. Commander Vex's scales had turned ash gray. Sir, we're detecting another launch from Earth's surface. Much larger this time. Through the chaos of failing shields and panicking crew members, a new voice cut through their communications. This is Commander Blake Rodriguez of the UD's Righteous Thunder. Hope you aliens packed a change of pants, because Operation Sledgehammer is about to ruin your whole day. Kraz's eyes widened as he saw what was rising from Earth's atmosphere. It wasn't a missile. It wasn't a ship. It was a space elevator's counterweight, repurposed into what could only be described as the biggest shotgun shell in human history. Full evasive maneuvers, Kraz screamed. Get us out of its trajectory. Too late, Rodriguez's voice was practically singing. You see, while Admiral Chen had you distracted with the fancy light show up front, we've been using good old-fashioned thrusters to herd your fleet exactly where we want it. Basic space combat tactics. Did they not teach those at Galactic Dominion Military Academy? The massive projectile burst apart, revealing its true nature. Inside were millions of ball bearings, each one made of depleted uranium and accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. Physics, that cruel mistress of the cosmos, was about to remind everyone why mass times velocity squared was not just a formula in a textbook. Sir Vex's voice had risen several octaves. Their projectiles, they're coordinating with Earth's orbital defense grid. The magnetic accelerators are adding even more velocity. Commander Rodriguez's laugh echoed through every ship's speakers. Now you're getting it. See, while you folks were busy mastering energy weapons, we humans spent centuries perfecting the art of throwing really heavy objects really fast at things we don't like. Sure, your energy weapons are impressive. But you know what they can't do? They can't change direction after hitting a shield. As if to demonstrate his point, the ball bearings that had just shattered through the first line of alien ships were now being caught and redirected by Earth's orbital magnetic fields, accelerated again, and thrown back for another pass. Impossible, Kraz sputtered. The energy requirements alone. Oh, that Rodriguez sounded like he was explaining something to a child. Yeah, we just used your own shield impacts to power the magnetic fields. Thanks for the energy donation, by the way. Really helped with our power budget. The Star Crusher's bridge rocked with multiple impacts. Through the chaos, Kraz could hear similar reports from across his fleet. Ships were being torn apart not by energy beams or exotic particles, but by what essentially amounted to very fast metal balls. Coming around for another pass, Rodriguez announced cheerfully. You know what's really fun about kinetic weapons in space? No air resistance? These babies will keep going until they hit something. And thanks to our targeting computers, they're going to keep hitting you. Lieutenant Kix's console exploded in a shower of sparks. Admiral, we're detecting multiple breaches in the fleet's formation. Human ships are. They're using the debris as cover. Indeed, the smaller, more agile Earth ships were darting through the clouds of wreckage, using the chaos of their own attack as tactical cover. Each human vessel was launching what appeared to be simple missiles, but each missile was splitting into hundreds of smaller projectiles, creating an ever-growing cloud of hypervelocity death. This is Admiral Chen again. Her voice was calm and professional. I really think you should consider surrender, Admiral Kraz. The next phase of Operation Sledgehammer involves what we like to call the magnetic pinball special, and trust me, you really don't want to be here for that. As if to punctuate her point, the orbital defense grid suddenly lit up with electromagnetic pulses, turning the entire battlefield into a cosmic pinball machine, with the alien fleet caught in the middle. Commander Rodriguez's voice came through one last time. Remember, folks, Sir Isaac Newton is the deadliest son of a gun in space. Class dismissed. Despite the catastrophic losses in orbit, some Galactic Dominion forces managed to breach Earth's defenses and begin their ground invasion. They expected an easy victory against primitives with chemical-powered weapons. What they got instead was General Rex Thompson and his merry band of antique enthusiasts. Welcome to Earth. Thompson's voice boomed across all frequencies as the alien dropships descended on Kansas. I hope you brought your history books, because today's lesson is about why we never stopped using gunpowder. The Dominion troops, clad in their energy shield-powered armor, marched out of their ships with supreme confidence. Their personal shields could deflect plasma bolts, laser beams, and even small nuclear blasts. Unfortunately for them, nobody told them about Billy Bob's 12-gauge shotgun collection. You see, Thompson narrated over the comm channels as the first wave of aliens encountered the defending forces. The funny thing about kinetic weapons is they don't care how fancy your energy shield is. Mass is mass. The aliens learned this lesson the hard way when Farmer Billy Bob, age 73, introduced their advanced combat armor to his grandpappy's double-barrel shotgun. The pellets, traveling at relatively slow speeds, simply walked right through their shields, which were calibrated to stop high-energy weapons. Status reports screamed the Dominion ground commander. How are these primitives penetrating our defenses? Sir, came the panicked reply, their weapons. They're too slow. The shields are optimized for high-energy impacts. These projectiles are below our minimum deflection threshold. General Thompson's laughter echoed across the battlefield. Ain't that a kick in the head? All that fancy technology, and you forgot about good old Newton's laws. Hey, Martha, show them what your great-great-granddaddy carried at Gettysburg. The crack of a Civil War-era Springfield rifle rang out, and another alien soldier discovered that 19th-century ballistics worked just fine in the 24th century. Pull back, the Dominion commander ordered. Recalibrate shields for slower projectiles. About that, Thompson drawled. While you're busy adjusting your shields down, Sally here is about to introduce you to something we call an electromagnetic pulse cannon. Just a simple coil gun, really. Nothing fancy. Fires a metal slug at about Mach 15. The resulting explosion as the alien shields failed catastrophically under the combined assault of both low-tech and cutting-edge kinetic weapons was visible from orbit. And that, Kids Thompson commented, is why we keep what works. Sure, energy weapons are pretty, but you know what's really pretty? Watching a shotgun blast turn a million-credit shield system into confetti. The famous shotgun incident, as it came to be known throughout the galaxy, reached its climax when the alien ground forces attempted to regroup near a small-town hunting supply store. They didn't realize that on Earth, every hunting season was basically a military-grade weapons test. Hey aliens, called out Thompson over the general frequency. Ever wonder why humans still go hunting with primitive projectile weapons? It's because sometimes you just can't beat the classics. Sally, demonstrate please. The demonstration came in the form of a barrage of hunting rifles, shotguns, and even a few crossbows. The alien forces, their shields now completely useless, discovered another painful truth about Earth. Humans had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of throwing pointy things at their enemies. Remember that scene in your invasion playbook where you expected us to cower in fear at your advanced technology? Thompson's voice was thick with amusement. Might want to add a footnote warning humans kept their old weapons for a reason. Captain Maya Patel stood in the captured Galactic Dominion command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the battle across Earth and space. With a smirk, she pulled up the historical archives on her tablet and opened a channel to all remaining alien forces. Let me tell you a story, she began, her voice carrying across every alien communication device. 200 years ago, humanity cracked the secret of energy weapons. We celebrated for about 5 minutes. Then we discovered something fascinating. She pressed a button, and the holographic displays showed historical footage of Earth's first energy weapon tests. See, we figured out pretty quick that energy weapons had 3 really big problems. First, they're easy to detect coming. Second, they're affected by weather. And third, well, watch this. The display showed an ancient energy weapon test against a simple metal plate. The beam hit the plate, and instead of penetrating, it scattered in all directions. Physics, Maya announced cheerfully. Can't argue with it, can't break it, can't convince it to make an exception just because you really, really want your fancy laser gun to work. But you folks never figured that out, did you? Around the globe, the remaining alien forces watched in growing horror as Maya explained exactly why humanity had stuck with projectile weapons. You see, when you fire an energy weapon, you're essentially throwing light or plasma at your target. Very pretty, very dramatic. Absolutely useless against a sufficiently reflective surface or in bad weather. But you know what works great in any weather against any target? And can't be reflected? Good old-fashioned kinetic energy. She pulled up another display, this one showing the current battlefield. Notice how your ships are all sleek and shiny? Great for reflecting energy weapons, terrible for stopping a tungsten rod moving at orbital velocities. We tried to warn you. High Admiral Kraz's voice crackled over the comm. But our technology is centuries ahead of yours. No, Maya corrected. Your technology just went in a different direction. While you were perfecting ways to throw light at your problems, we were perfecting ways to throw metal at ours. And guess what? In space, where there's no air resistance, our solution works better. She typed a few commands into her tablet. Across the battlefield, Earth's remaining kinetic weapon platforms hummed to life. So here's the physics lesson one last time, Maya continued. Energy weapons are limited by power requirements, can be reflected, scattered, or absorbed, and need perfect conditions to work effectively. But mass. She paused for effect. Mass times acceleration equals force. No fancy conditions needed. No power requirements. Just good old Newton's laws. The kinetic platforms fired, sending another barrage of projectiles at the remaining alien fleet. Each shot was perfectly calculated, using Earth's gravity and magnetic field to accelerate simple metal projectiles to devastating speeds. That's the thing about humans, Maya said, watching the display. We're not stuck in the past. We just know better than to abandon something that works. Your energy weapons are impressive engineering, but they're overcomplicated solutions to a simple problem: how to make the other guy stop shooting at you. She pulled up one final display, showing the original human tests of energy weapons. We didn't stick with kinetic weapons because we couldn't figure out energy weapons. We stuck with kinetic weapons because they're better. Simple as that. Mass times velocity squared. The most reliable equation in combat. The remaining alien ships were now in full retreat, their once proud energy weapons useless against the simple, elegant solution humanity had perfected over centuries. Oh, and one more thing, Maya added. Next time you want to invade someone, maybe check why they're using primitive weapons first. Could save you a lot of embarrassment. Class dismissed. High Admiral Kraz sat in the Earth conference room, his facial tentacles drooping in what his species considered the ultimate expression of embarrassment. Across the table, Admiral Lisa Chen, General Rex Thompson, Commander Blake Rodriguez, and Captain Maya Patel watched him with barely concealed amusement. So Chen began, sliding a tablet across the table. Shall we discuss the terms of your surrender? We've kept them quite simple, even included pictures. Kraz picked up the tablet with one of his 4 hands, while the other 3 nervously tapped on the table. You know, he said, in 10,000 years of Galactic Dominion history, no one has ever defeated our fleet. We were so certain that energy weapons were the pinnacle of warfare. That's the problem with certainty, Rodriguez chimed in, propping his boots on the table. Makes you forget to ask basic questions. Like, why would a spacefaring civilization stick with projectile weapons? Thompson grinned, pulling out his grandfather's revolver and placing it on the table. This right here, 6 bullets, simple spring and hammer mechanism. Works in space, works underwater, works in a sandstorm. Try that with your plasma rifle. But the most amusing part, Maya added, bringing up a holographic display, is that your entire invasion fleet was defeated by technology we perfected centuries ago. The only new part was the delivery system. Kraz's secondary eyelids blinked rapidly as he read through the surrender terms. His tentacles suddenly shot up in surprise. This can't be right. You want us to what? Buy our weapons, Chen said with a smile. Specifically, our kinetic weapon designs. See, while you were busy trying to conquer us, our weapons manufacturers were running cost-benefit analyses. Turns out, there's probably a lot of civilizations out there who'd love a weapon system that actually works. You want to sell us the very weapons you used to defeat us? Kraz's voice was a mixture of disbelief and admiration. Welcome to capitalism, Buddy Rodriguez laughed. Why conquer when you can corner the market? Think about it. Your energy weapons cost a fortune to produce, require massive power sources, and can be defeated by a sufficiently shiny surface. Our kinetic weapons, simple physics, reliable mechanics, and they just work. Maya pulled up another display. We're already drawing up the marketing materials. Just imagine human kinetic solutions, because sometimes you just need to throw something really fast at the problem. And the best part, Thompson added, we'll even throw in free shooting lessons. First one's on the house. Though I gotta warn you, teaching 4 armed aliens proper trigger discipline might be interesting. Kraz looked around the room, then at the tablet, then back at the humans. Slowly, his facial tentacles began to curl in what humans would later learn was the alien equivalent of a grin. You know, he said, the Galactic Council is going to be very interested in this. Every major military force in the galaxy uses energy weapons. Exactly, Chen smiled. And now they all know those energy weapons don't work against one very annoying species with very primitive weapons. So, do we have a deal? Kraz looked at the revolver on the table, then at the surrender terms, and finally at the humans who had so thoroughly schooled him in the basics of combat physics. We have a deal. Though I have one question. That thing you called Operation Sledgehammer. Oh, that Rodriguez grinned. Just wait until you see what we call Operation Anvil. That's the premium package, though. Costs extra. And so, on that day, humanity didn't just defeat an alien invasion. They turned it into a business opportunity. Within a year, Human Kinetic Solutions became the largest weapons manufacturer in the galaxy, teaching alien species the joy of things that go boom instead of pew. As for High Admiral Kraz, he became their first alien board member, specializing in what he called practical defeat consultation. After all, who better to sell the benefits of human weapons than the guy who learned about them the hard way? The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere Sir Isaac Newton was probably having a good laugh about it all.